to the Mixorcist. Hey, welcome to the Mixorcist, everyone.
Welcome, guys. EB, how's it going?
Good, CW. Not long, eh? We're just here a couple days ago, so.
It's only been a couple of days, but it's been a good couple of days. Did you get any more horror movie watching in?
Oh, I sure did. Let me share with you.
Watch?
It's a classic, I'd say, that probably a bunch of people have already seen. Called Nightcrawler.
Oh, Nightcrawler. Yeah.
It's about a newsman, a footage person that's, shall we say, a little bit on the psychotic side.
That's good to have.
And it's a good film. You should definitely check it out. Jake Gyllenhaal's amazing in it, and the rest of the cast is just, pretty incredible. So that is my pick. Nice. How about you, man?
I decided to go backwards. We were talking about the 80s and horror movies, so I thought I would rewatch the Slumber Party Massacre Part 1 and Part 2. Just do them back to back. Because they were on, I don't know, Amazon Prime or Shudder. I was disappointed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the cover, it's like, how can you go wrong with these movie posters? But I guess what this movie meant to me when I was like 17 versus what they mean now, totally different thing. As a historical curiosity, you should probably watch it, and it's worth it just for. I had the line wrong last time. It was it she? No, it wasn't. She made me sad. She made me cry. It's like she. I can't remember what it is. Made me sad, made me cry. Don't you know she had to die? So anytime you have a horror movie and poetry in the same place, you're in a good zone.
It's
but
just that little.
They're just not like they're almost comedies. That's not spectacular. However, I do have my Shudder, my next picks lined up for Shudder. I'm pretty excited. One apparently is called Host. It's about a Ouija board summoning a demon over Zoom. So the whole thing is filmed across Zoom. So I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent.
And it's 56 minutes, so it's cheap. It's nice and easy, but it's a Shudder exclusive. So basically, I should start collecting affiliate payments for Shudder.
Yeah. Well, I got to watch that documentary you talked about last time. What is it, In Search of Darkness? So I'm gonna sign up for the trial on Shudder.
Get the trial, and then bail early. Yeah,
you're saying it's worth it, then definitely, yeah.
And check out Porno while you're there. We talked about this last time. It's also an exclusive to Shudder, but do check it out. There's like 300-400 movies that are all horror just on that channel alone. So worth getting for sure. Hey, speaking of worth getting, you want to talk plugins?
Oh yeah, we have to talk plugins. So we weren't even going to do another episode, but then in the inbox comes this message from Plugin Alliance, and guess what they've got going on now? They happen to have
a new plugin.
A brand new console, part of their console series, which is the BX Amek 9099 plugin. It's based on the infamous Amek 9098i console, which some people say is among the best, if not the best, analog console ever in history. In terms of the way it sounds, in terms of the clarity, the depth of field. It's certainly from that era. There are a lot of people that really dig this board, even though it doesn't necessarily have as big of a name as the Neve and the SSL and API and that sort of thing. But
I believe it was Neve designed, and I mean you can sort of tell with some of the curves. But let's talk about the plugin itself, though, because all of these BX console plugs I've been using. When I started podcasting, I started using Console N, when it was the only one out there, along with Console E. And then they released the G console. So Console E was an SSL emulation. Console G was the G series emulation. Now they have a J series, and they have, what's the other one they got?
And the Focusrite one too. Also Rupert Neve design.
Yep. Yeah. And what I like about these tools is they're so facile. Like if you're looking to sculpt a mix, everything you need is here. You don't have to fuss and worry about what it's going to sound like, whether you're choosing the right sound. The compression, highly capable, great sounding. I think that the EQs, you can dial in anything you want. If you need to sculpt, you can sculpt. If you need a bit of fancy tone, you got a couple options. And it's not as charactery as, let's say, a 1073 EQ wise, but it's still got a little tone to it. And yet it's really great for carving out a mix. Like if you had I don't know, I wouldn't want 10 of these on the screen at once just because of the sheer size of them. Although I will put thumbs up because they're scalable.
Mm-hmm.
So on the top left, you can choose a GUI size, which is really helpful. And I think if you had like, I don't know, 8 stems to mix and you just use this, you would be just fine.
Oh yeah.
Easy, nice and light on CPU. It just works. So I've loved the console plugs for a really long time and got a lot of use out of them. So I'm thrilled that there's another one in the series. So why don't we dig in and check it out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad, you know what, they put a clipper. It's not on the final output of this plugin. It's in the limiter section. You can choose between limiter or clipper, but I'm like, yes. You know how many plugins don't have that? The perfect sound.
Yeah.
And then there's just no, you got to push up against something just to keep those extra transients from going over, and you can set it. And so sometimes even plugins that have like a clipper, it's a clipper, but it's sort of set like right at 0, and you can't change it or reduce the volume afterwards. This one's perfect because not only can you set where you want the clipping to occur, then you've got a fader afterwards too as well. So, which I'll pull up that picture again so you can see the clipper right under the compressor in the limit section, and then at the final output is that fader that's far on the right hand side at the bottom. So you got everything here. You've got a compressor also has an ambience function, which is pretty interesting. Maybe we'll get into that. It plays only the part that's being compressed. So it's almost like a really weird reverse gating kind of thing that goes on with that. You got the EQ, you got just consistent with the 9098, you've got the sheen and the glow knobs, which sort of widen out those shells and sort of give it a bit of a different phase characteristic. You've got the high pass, low pass, the gate. You can route things differently. You've got saturation. You've got a saturation on top where you can saturate just that channel, and another knob where you can saturate all of the instances. So if you've got this across all your buses, or you've got it in on every channel, you can say this mix needs to be hotter. You just pull that up, and then you get a bit more on the harmonic distortion. And on the bottom, they've got the mono maker. Infamous BX mono maker and the stereo width just to top it off. I even tried this almost like as a mastering plugin, or I'll say as a final bus processor, and it worked beautifully. You'll see it when we get to my example. I've got that right on the master bus with a bit of compression. But do you want to go first, man?
Okay, so here's what I got for you today. I just thought I'd throw together. I was doing some riffing on the guitar and playing with some R&B style stuff. So take a listen to what it's got with nothing on it. All right, so you're looking at no reverb, no delay, no nothing on this one. Let's dig in first. I'm going to mute a couple of tracks here. Let's go and get just the drums. So I want you guys to have a listen to with the compressor and without the compressor. So watch as I click it in and out. This is with. Take it out. Hear how it's sustaining. I mean, there's a volume difference as always, but hear how it's sustaining the snare a little bit. Listen to the kick drum. Without. So you can definitely hear it thumping and kicking a little bit. Let's pull the attack all the way back. Totally rips the transients right off. Listen to the side stick. Open up the attack. Pull it down. Now we're back into the snare, but you can definitely hear it's ripping the transients off. And then let's try with a short release and a short attack. This is a nice way to get that distorted kind of real crunchy sound.
Splat.
And this is with a fairly high compression ratio. So let's back off on all these. Let's open up the release and the attack. But I don't like what it's doing to the kick drum. I thought I would. And it's robbing it of the thump. Listen without. Nice round resonance at the bottom of the kick drum. Kick the compressor in. Watch what it does to the kick. In. out. There's like a whole bunch of sub there on offer that once you kick the compressor in just disappears. So what I'll do is open up the high pass filter. Brings it right back in. So all the way down. Move it out of the way, and it's pretty nice. Let's try that ambient feature. Notice it takes the ride cymbals out.
Yeah. That kind of reverse.
It's almost like it's got some sort of. Yeah, I'm not sure 100% how I would use that. Maybe to try to take the ambient sound out of something like a vocal. I'm not 100% sure. But here's what I like. If you remember the 33609 compressor, the Neve compressor, it would really rip into drums if you put both the comp and the limiter in. So let's do that. Let's listen to the drum kit without anything on it. Compressor. All right, getting a little hot and heavy. Let's kick the limiter in. There you go. So you've got everything here from mild compression all the way up to DBX type, splat, available for you to dial in here. So I like this on drums a lot. I wouldn't actually use that limiter in this application, but it's cool that it's there. Let's check out the EQs a little bit. Let's see what these things can do. And here I want to start on the bottom. I think I want to start on the bottom. Yeah, I want to show you this glow feature. You were talking about how the glow kind of widens the curve, widens the shape a little bit. I'll put this in peak mode. You can still hear it. Let's dial up some bottom end. I don't know. Let's go around 50, 60, wherever that ended up. Hear what that's doing? Without. Let's kick in the glow. You can almost feel that on the tongue, like that opens up the range of even the peaking filter to what sounds like it might be, I don't know, would you call that 150 maybe?
Yeah.
You'd have to look at it to be sure, but it's definitely in that higher end of the low end, right? And so that can really, like without it, I find it's almost a little hollow and resonant if you don't have some of that glow in there.
Yeah, this is more of a punch or something, like a punch.
Yeah. Let's take it out. It's a little bit hollow. Not that it's not a bad sound, not that it is a bad sound, but it's definitely, if that's not what you wanted something a little fuller, that's where you'd aim for the glow feature. And of course, it's nice to be able to do peak or shelf here with the individual bands, the peaking only bands. I like that you've got variable Q, of course, to make it a very facile thing, but we've also got a notch. So I'm assuming if there was a frequency maybe where you had some ring or some buzz or something that was just a little bit too much in your face, you hit the notch button and it'll let you do the subtraction on a very, very narrow band here. If I go this. We're going to have to restart that. As opposed to if I take the notch out.
Oh, wow.
Then it's a very, very broad plus or minus, right? But the notch really narrows things down, allowing you to be a little bit more surgical. Now, I don't know what that notch curve looks like, but it certainly leaves most of your signal intact while you add or whether you add or subtract, where you feel like you might need a little bit more precise equalization. And they're nice sounding filters. I'll take that out, but let's have a good listen to the top shelf. Let's give that a bit of a boost here, and I'll put it on peak mode. That might be a little papery.
Yeah, but in a mix, I mean, that might cut, like, depending.
Yeah. And this has that sheen control, which goes a little broader. Let's take it out. So here we're up, I think, around 14, 15. Now when you start bringing it down without that sheen, you've got a little more of a narrow crest. You can start hearing the high mids. Almost too nasal there.
It really is an amazing difference that happens there.
Yeah, for sure. And let's just pop that sheen again in so you can hear the difference. Without. With. Without. It's a little harder to hear on the top shelf than it was on the bottom, but it does broaden it a little bit.
Like what you were saying last episode, if you watched that, where you were talking about a high shelf boost, but a boost that's not like only cymbals, not like right at the top of your spectrum. Like it goes down into the upper mid range, even into the mid range, and it blends in with the sound. It brings the whole kit forward, as opposed to just the tippy top cymbals and the the snares rattling and stuff like that. So I mean, I think that's if you had something that was just like a drum kit that's just dull, like you probably would want to try that sheen that would lift the entire top end, as opposed to I just need a bit more air, a bit more cymbals. Then you probably would have the glow off. So sort of like that.
Exactly. Let's just take another thing I really love is the high pass filter, because let's kick it in and just listen to it work. There it is, taking some of the low end out of the kick drum, for example, but you also can choose. Sorry, that was the wrong control. There we go. There's a multiplier. So if you want more precise control over the low end, you leave the multiplier off. But if for whatever reason this isn't enough for you, 300 hertz, you get all the way up to 600. So a lot of the controls on the equalizer do exactly that. They allow you to hit the 2 times or the divide by 2, so that you can have a little more precise control over the frequency. Some EQ models do that for the actual gain knob. This one does it for the frequency selector. In much the same way I think the Millennia EQs do the same thing, right? Just to let you have a little more fine-grained control over where in the EQ spectrum you land. Now, the other thing that worth mentioning, of course, is the TMT, which is their analog saturation model. Let's just have a listen, see if we can hear it working. Crank it up. Take it down. A little bit. I'm listening to the hi-hats. I'm hearing a little more sizzle, just a touch. Without. With. Yeah, a little more presence. I mean, it's subtle. It's not like a full-blown saturator on its own. And then, of course, you can go through and select whichever channel you want, as though they're different, slightly different strips on a board will have slight differences in sound because of some tolerances or differences in the electronics. I personally can't hear the differences most of the time, but they're there. It's something, if you were setting up a multi-track thing with this on multiple instruments, you might choose a different modeled channel and get a slightly different sound, or perhaps a little more dimensional sound out of it. And, Eric, I'll let you go through some of the other features. Every time you come in here, you're breaking my concentration. You're distracting me. But let's just hear what this might do across a mix of a couple of different instruments. So I'm just going to open and play real quick and see if we can't shape this into something interesting. let's pull off some of these so you can hear it without. Volume differences aside, you hear that the bass is a little bit uncontrolled, it's a little bit flubby, the drums are not kicking, and I wanted that strat in the middle to really bite and have some teeth. So let's kick the drums in. The compressor's doing a nice job of not making a mess of the drums, but I really wanted that bass drum to have a nice R&B flatness to it, and I wanted the top end to shine a bit more. Let's get the bass compressed. Let's bring that strat out in the middle. So again, without. And with. So you got no reverb, no delay, no effects, no mod stuff, no nothing going on there. Just some simple compression to just line up the mix a little bit, to give it some flavor, bring it forward. It's got, I mean, I didn't do a lot of moves on those EQs. I just tried adding a little bit of mid-range and put a little top where I needed it, and put a little bit of bass. I think I put a little bit of bass on the bass. And it really brings the mix to life. Like all of a sudden it's got some color, it's got some contrast that wasn't there before, but it did it in a way that's not strident or harsh. And I kind of like where it's heading. I could easily, I think in a couple more minutes, we'd have a nice little mix here, and not too complicated, all with one tool, right? So we're not going around saying, oh, I wish I could get a Pultec sound here, a Neve sound on this, and making this big, monsters brew of different tonalities. It's all with this one channel style. So I don't know. What'd you think? What do you got, Eric?
Well, I mean, I think just based on what I saw you do there, it really just tightened everything up. It sort of made things sound the way they're supposed to sound. It tightened everything up. It brightened everything up. It made it sound like more like a record, less like a fader mix. And did you find what I found about this? What made me fall in love with this plugin is it's easy. It sort of feels effortless when you're EQing things. It's like, where do you want it? And you just dial some knobs, and it's like I've had a much easier time with this for some reason than a lot of other plugins. And I don't know what it is. It's magical in that way.
I think that's the console. It's more like mixing on a console in terms of the strip architecture. Everything is the same. You've got the ability to collapse the bands if you need it. You've got a wide range you can sweep. You've got adjustable Q. You've got a really decent plus or minus. You've got lots of headroom. And the compressor on the strip, we didn't even touch the gate. I use the gate on vocals all the time because it's really transparent. Sometimes on vocal mixes, I'll use Waves NS1 because it just does the job. It yanks out any nasty frequencies, but it's also a very intelligent gate. This is almost as clean with no artifacts. It doesn't pull down the top end the way NS1 does. So I think it's a superior solution sometimes for getting noise out of a quieter mix. Everything you need is here right down to now. Like the old console end had no limiter, had no clipper. Now you've got those baked in too. So it's just, it's a craftsman's tool. It's like being able to reach into a toolkit and everything you need is right there. That's what I like so much about it.
Yeah, I mean, even with the with the addition too of the mono maker and the stereo width as well, it's crazy. The ability to take all of your plugin instances and make them more distorted or less, or do it on an individual basis. I really had no, and all of it sounds like really good. Could you compare the EQ of this to another EQ, or the compressor of this to another compressor, and which one would be better? And it's like, yeah, but which one has them all in the same place and all of them sounding like this good? Huh. So that's the question you might want to ask yourself. What's going to get you a mix faster?
I agree. Yeah.
You talking to me? You talking to me? I'm the only one here.
So what did you come up with? How did it work on yours? I know yours is a bit more electronic sounding, a little more synthy, bigger, fatter.
Yeah, it is. I did the same sort of thing that you did. I loaded up some tracks and I said I'm going to put it on a couple things, just like kick and snare and a couple synths, and then I put an instance on the entire mix. So let's get that set up here. Here's my screen. So yeah, let's play this, listen to what's going on, and I'll show you the different instances. So we got one on the kick drum. That is just for its low end. I think that's the only thing on here. It's a bit of a low end boost. With it, without that low end.
Oh yeah.
Back in. Off. Back on. Let's go over to the snare, see what's going on. Snare's got compression and I believe a bit of limiting. But definitely some compression, although I'm not seeing any compression lights. Oh, that's because it's not on. Let's turn it on. Oh, there it is. We'll turn it off.
Oh yeah.
On. A bit more splat. A little bit more top end, I think, too. Off. On. And then that's it. That's all that's on there. I think that these overheads, where'd they go? Let me restart that. Let's see what else I have it on. I think it's on those cymbals. Here's the cymbals. Couldn't find them. Ride. Okay. And that is the high shelf. On. I'm going to turn it off. Back on. Off. It's weird, like you just do one thing. Everything else is disabled pretty much. Mm-hmm. Off. Back on. Let's stop playing there. There it is. Let's crank that up. I guess because that ride isn't playing all the time, so I'm gonna crank it up though. When that comes, there it is.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
So I'll have it cranked up. I'll turn the sheen on and off so you can get a feel for the difference on that when it starts. That's with the sheen on. Now it's off. Hopefully here it'll start to get a bit more continuous. Sheen off. Sheen on. You can hear that it just, especially on that cymbal there, you can get away with more when that sheen is on, I find, because it doesn't sound as sharp or as aggressive with it.
It's way more pinpoint for sure. It hurts right between my teeth. Like, you know, when you pull dental floss up just a bit too far and it starts to hurt. That's what happens if you turn the sheen off. You turn the sheen on and it reaches back down on those rides into the body where you can hear a bit more of the stick and a bit more of the brass like of the cymbal. And of course it reaches up a little bit higher too. Mm-hmm. So it's not as pointy, but it's just got a little more overall presence in all the bands. And it really, because it's such a nice ride pattern that you got in that song there. I don't know if it's programmed or if it's a real ride. but it sounds great.
That's a real ride. A lot of it's programmed, but the ride is real. Yeah, the synths are real too, like hardware synths. If a synth can be real,
yeah. If a
can
synth
an electric guitar be real?
Does a synth have feelings? Does a synth feel longing
if God
and sorrow
was the synthesizer
and remembrance? Anyway, it sounds great. I really, to your point, it's when you start moving those gain knobs, it starts cutting pretty quick. Like it makes some pretty noticeable changes, but they're all super musical. Did you notice that? Like nothing is like, oh, ooh, what'd I just do there?
No, it sounds right. It's
hardish to make it sound bad.
Yeah, hard to make sound bad, and it just you want the sheen on or the sheen off. It's like you could push it a little too far, sure, but not like a lot of other ones. This one's just nice. It feels like you're kind of molding clay rather than like cutting glass, if that makes any sense. The same is true, by the way, for what happens on the sheen. The same is true on the bottom end. Whereas if you put that glow knob on, you start to get some of that, like you pointed out, some of that warmth and that upper mid or upper low end punch, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
And I've only got one more thing to show you, which is the main channel.
Damien, the response, please, Damien.
There we go. So let's get the main channel up here, and you'll notice on the main channel that I've got no EQ, no gating or anything like that. It's just the standard TMT 1 and 2 there. I didn't muck with the harmonic distortion, although you could. But what I did do was compress it a little bit and set this limiter is that set to clip or is that set to limit? I can't. Oh, down here. Sorry, here's the limiter. That's what I got going on. So I got a little bit of compression up here and limiting down here. And I do have that set to clip, but not very much. I'll play it. You'll see that it's just on these lights here. It's just kissing these lights. And these lights actually say 3 dBs. So maybe it's even giving more than what some other ones might show. But it is hitting that limiter. So I've used it for that, and I've also used it, the mono maker, which is, I don't know, it's set below 100, maybe about 80 or something. No, actually it's above 100, sorry, it's set at 122 or 130. Just the tiniest amount of stereo enhancement. So let's listen to that first. Listen to the bass. Take off the mono maker. Back on. Off. Back on. Subtle. You might have to have a good system to hear it. Tightens up that low end a little bit. It's equally subtle as this enhancement, but I'll just put it off now. Off. On. So those are just really nice to have. Really nice to have those added on. And let me undo that comp. Just these little tiny moves. On. The clipper I probably won't touch because it'll start going over 0. But let's hear the sum total, everything on and off. So let's go back to the beginning.
Taking all the tracks off, every instance?
Yeah. Just the master bus, right? So I'm going to turn this instance, the whole instance on and off. On now. Off. On. Off. On. one more thing, which is increase the distortion, like on everything. Let's try everything, all the instances. So this will affect everything we've got on the. It's warning. See that? It gives you a warning. Like, oh, did you realize what you're about to do?
What you're about to do is wrong.
Okay, here we go. Don't show me this again, okay?
Yeah.
Here we go. Do you have any idea? Here we go. Oh. You know, if you have the heat function on Pro Tools, it sort of works like this too. You can increase the whole overall thing, or take it back. It's not huge, but it's there. Well, actually, yeah, that's right. And then this gain, I don't know. I didn't read enough far in the manual to know what V gain is. So I'm not. Or should we just touch? What the hell? What does it do? Does it just make everything louder, or? That's just an exercise in ignorance right there, but.
We also didn't cover. The other thing we didn't cover is there's a knee button in the compressor module. I have no idea what it does, other than what a knee button normally does, but I'm not sure the specifics of this particular implementation, and we didn't have a listen to it. So there's almost too much to cover on this plugin, but experiment with that. Again, having not read the manual, I'm not even sure what it does, but there's a lot to enjoy and a lot to uncover in this tool, and I really like it a lot. Like I said, I'm a big fan of all their console plugs. I think they're stupendous tools for crafting a mix quickly and in a way that's cohesive and sensible, because you're using the same set of tools like you would be on a real board. Because
it's got a lot of controls, you might think, oh, it's really dangerous. And sure, yeah, everything's dangerous in the wrong hands. EQ is dangerous in the wrong hands and compress. But this feels more like playing. I don't feel like, oh, that's screwing it up. Yeah. If this feels like options, this feels like, oh, this is good, and that's totally usable. Or we could go this way, and that's totally usable. So whatever it is, maybe hats off to the way Rupert Neve designed this. These electronics and then also the accuracy of the Plugin Alliance modeling and the Brainworks modeling here. I think they got a winner. This is a really solid addition. If you don't have a channel strip, or maybe you have a lot of channel strips, but you like collecting different ones, this one I'd say, yeah, for sure. It's a winner.
Gear acquisition syndrome. Yeah, I don't buy everything that PA makes, but I have to tell you, just talking casually, probably my all-time favorite plugin is their Black Box. What's the name of the company? It's basically a tube saturator.
Yeah, that's right. Black Box, the HG2, the company, I don't know.
What's the name of the company that makes it? Anyway, it's escaping me. For my favorite plugin. No. Yeah, you would think I would know who made my favorite plugin, but I think that's the best plugin I own. It's so three-dimensional and real and brings things alive in a way that very few plugins do. So, I mean, they've nailed some really great plugins. In fact, their SPL Twin Tube is another one of the best saturators ever made, and it's by no means new. Super simple to use, really flexible, sounds amazing. And then these consoles are always good. Some of their other things have been a little less of a hit for me. They're not as stunning, but this is among their best work, I would say. I really enjoyed this plugin a lot.
Yeah, me too. And if you know anything about us, it's like, don't you guys ever have anything bad to say about anything? It's like, well, we kind of don't, because if we don't like it, we won't review it, basically, right?
Yeah. Essentially, that's it, because it's all about good vibes, right? Like, I mean, it's just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not for you. Doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not a tool that right now I would use. But how many times, EB, have you dug into a plugin that you all but dismissed and said this is junk, only to find out that it had a perfect application somewhere else later on? So there's no sense slagging other people's work. These guys work hard to build these. You guys are artists. All you want to know is, what does it sound like? Is this something I should try? How are you guys using it? How could it maybe apply to my style of mixing or my particular usage? So we really do try to keep it, more about how would you use it and what's in the box, right? That's the question everyone wants to know.
Oh, that's not good. Not good.
it's going to be long videos. So this might be our very own Slumber Party Massacre, depending on
That's right.
you know, how it comes off. But this is such a great sounding thing. I think this plugin is going to help this episode sound really good, actually. So,
Yeah,
not always the case, right? Sometimes if you watch us enough, we'll be stumbling a little here or there, and maybe we did here too. I don't know. We didn't cover all of it. That's why probably too, right? But I didn't sense any, you know,
no, but I
major
think you get a sense. Like if you're new to the console series by Plugin Alliance, I highly recommend you try any of them. And, you know, I don't know what the price point is on this one. I'm just on the demo personally, but I know console N and console E and G routinely go on sale for what, 30, 40 bucks.
Yeah.
Plus they have a bundle, which is like 250 a year. I think you get almost everything that they make.
That's right. You get a whole thing
for a year-long subscription.
As they add new ones, they'll add that to
that's the price of one of their plugs.
Yeah. Now, when I downloaded this yesterday and installed it, they had not posted a price yet for it. Maybe that's changed now. So just go to their site or whatever. But you know, they'll give you loyalty vouchers. They put stuff on sale, and they've got the subscriptions. So even if that depends what the launch price is, but even if that's something that you're not, you know, really keen to do, you just wait a little while and you know, pick it up later on sale and stuff. But you know, lately these new offerings, I've been able, because I've bought a lot of their stuff, I've been able to pick up some of their new stuff sometimes very affordably. So yeah, so I really enjoyed those.
And their Black Friday sales are great. They've got sales going on right now. They've got 3 new plugins every day or so. So they watch for some sales. Sometimes the new releases go on sale. Sometimes they don't. Hey, if this one doesn't go on sale until Black Friday, maybe I'll see if there's a sale on it then. Although I have noticed the Amek stuff does not go on sale as much as some of their other more classic gear. While you're at it, we never reviewed it, but check out the Better Maker, because that's a stunning equalizer. Amazing. Another one they did an awesome job on. It sounds fantastic. So anyway, that's it for this week. We'll see you on the next release. Keep plugging in, keep making great music, keep watching, keep commenting. We love you all. Thanks, guys.